Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is May 28th. In her 1968 memoir, Plant Dreaming Deep, the Belgian-American writer May Sarton wrote, "From May on, I can hardly wait to get up to see what has happened overnight. For one of the pleasures of a garden is that something is always happening. It is not static, even for a day. I go out by 6:30 and sometimes earlier, still in my pajamas and a wrapper, to take a look around before breakfast." There is something about a garden that makes us feel comfortable enough to come to it like that. In our pajamas, without makeup, without shoes, before the day has made any demands. We don't get ready for the garden. We just go. And the garden never seems to mind. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1919 that the governor of New Hampshire, John H. Bartlett, signed his name to a law declaring the purple lilac the official state flower. The law said that the lilac was more than a flower. It was a symbol of the hardy character of the men and women of the Granite State. But John was not naming something new. He was acknowledging something that had already endured. In 1750, an Englishman named Benning Wentworth, the colony's first royal governor, planted lilacs at his home near Portsmouth. When he left England, Benning carried them across the ocean, small roots tucked in with other trees and shrubs, brought from England to a new and colder place. They took. Over time, they grew tall beside the house, and they flowered each May, lavender against timber and stone. Fast forward to nearly 2 centuries later, in April of 1939, and another governor, Francis P. Murphy, stood on the Capitol grounds with 6 root cuttings taken from those original Wentworth lilacs. Just before pressing them into the earth, he said, "6 roots were taken from the famous lilac trees in the garden of the first colonial governor of New Hampshire. So today we are placing root cuttings in the earth of the Capitol grounds from the very first lilacs ever to come to America. We are very proud of this little flower, which is uniquely ours. And as I plant these roots today, I ask you to join with me in the hope that they may thrive and over time grow into full beauty." Those roots were not ornamental. They were continuation. And here is something else. The lilacs planted at Mount Vernon, at the home of George Washington, are also believed to be slips that were taken from the Wentworth estate. They were a passing of wood, beauty, and will. Today, in some of the oldest parts of New England, there are lilacs blooming in places where houses no longer stand. And one of the reasons they are still there is simple. Like peonies, lilacs can live for over a century. For generations, people have planted lilacs close enough to smell them from the front porch or their kitchen window. They've been used to mark the edges of properties, to hide a clothesline pole, and to provide a backdrop for family photos. And on this May morning, May 28th in 1919, John Bartlett signed his name to the lilac, giving the Granite State something fragrant, something beautiful and soft, and something that returns reliably year after year. And it was on this day, in 1847, that the English clergyman and botanist William Herbert died. He was 71 years old. For most of his life, William moved between two kinds of rooms. On Sundays, he stood in a stone church among his parishioners. But on weekdays, he worked alone in a greenhouse, where the glass caught the light and the soil stayed damp underfoot. William devoted himself to the Amaryllis family, Amaryllidaceae, and at a time when many naturalists dismissed hybrids as mistakes, as unstoppable and even improper, William saw something different. In the natural world, bees carry pollen from one plant to another without hesitation. But when a person did the same, it raised a question whether such crossings overstepped what nature or even God had intended. William did not turn away from that question. As a clergyman, he knew the Bible and the language of creation intimately. Yet he understood plants not as something fixed, but as a living gift, something that could be tended, worked, and even carefully joined for man's enjoyment. William understood plant breeding as participation, not disruption. Hand pollination moves slowly. It requires closeness, repetition, and the willingness to begin again the following season. So William gathered pollen and lifted it carefully, sometimes with a camel hair brush. He crossed one bloom with another, and then he waited. William recorded what happened when species met. Some crosses failed, some faltered, but others opened into colors no one had seen before. William saw deeper crimsons, unexpected striping, and petals thick as velvet. And when morning light struck certain blooms, their surfaces shimmered as though the flower had been brushed by frost. Gardeners later called this the diamond dust effect. Light caught in the cells of the petal, scattering into brightness. William lived among it all. He saw it again and again in the greenhouse light, and he kept working to bring it forward. He kept crossing amaryllis plants until his death on this day, May 28th in 1847. After he was gone, the church grew quiet, but the greenhouse stayed warm. A different kind of parish, still opening into color, light, and that fine, sparkling diamond dust. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear a poem from the American poet May Swenson, born on this day in 1913 in Logan, Utah. May grew up with the mountains on the horizon and a big sky overhead. She carried that sky with her everywhere she went. Here's an excerpt from May's poem called Strawberrying. We're picking near the shore. The morning's sunny, a slight wind moving rough-veined leaves. Our hands rumple along. Fingers find by feel the ready fruit in clusters. Here and there, they're squishy wounds. Flesh was perfect yesterday. June was for gorging. Sweethearts, young and firm before decay. Take only the biggest and not too ripe. A mother calls to her girl and boy, barefoot in the furrows. Don't step on any. Don't change rows. Don't eat too many. Mesmerized by the largesse, the children squat and pull and pick handfuls of rich scarlets. Half for the baskets, half for avid mouths. Soon whole faces are stained. When hidden away in a damp hollow under moldy leaves, I come upon a clump of heart shapes, once red, now spider-spit gray, intact but empty, still attached to their dead stems. Families smothered as at Pompeii, I rise and stretch. I eat one more big, ripe, lopped head. Red-handed, I leave the field. May and her 10 siblings grew up listening to their Swedish mother read stories aloud to them every evening. And when I read May's poetry, in my mind, it sounds exactly like something she heard her mother read to her right before she fell asleep when she was just a little girl. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Apothecaries Garden by Sue Minte. This book is part of Specialty Gardens Week, which means all this week's book recommendations focus on a particular plant or a particular practice. In 1673, the Society of Apothecaries founded a garden in Chelsea to research and classify the plants that healed people. For more than 300 years, the Chelsea Physic Garden led the world in that work. Sue writes, "At the dawn of the new millennium, the Chelsea Physic Garden remains the only botanic garden to retain physic in its title, after the old name for the healing arts. At a time when there is great interest in both health and in garden history, no doubt this reestablishment of its role will continue." And here's an excerpt from the postscript. Despite these approximately 4 acres having been continuously cultivated from 1673 until 2000, there has always been a level of interest and influence beyond the walls. The Apothecaries Garden by Sue Minte offers the hidden history of the Chelsea Physic Garden. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1912 that the Australian novelist Patrick White was born in London. Patrick grew up in Australia, but his childhood was shaped by severe asthma. Even between attacks, he could never quite get enough air. When he turned 13, his mother sent him to England, hoping that the climate might help his breathing. But it did not save him. It only uprooted him. And so he spent years between 2 worlds, never quite belonging to either one. It's part of the reason why Patrick once described himself as an unplanted tree, bearing roots from another soil and bent by a harsh sun. In 1948, Patrick and his partner, Manoli Lascaris, bought 6 acres at Castle Hill, outside Sydney. The first thing they did was plant 4 dogwood trees, and they named their farm after them, the Dogwoods. At Dogwoods, Patrick rose at 6 each morning to weed. Then he would milk the cows and haul produce to market. And though he often called himself a slave to the garden, he said he never felt happier than he did on that small piece of land. But then, in 1951, during a rainstorm, Patrick slipped in the mud and fell face first into the earth. He picked himself up, went inside, and began writing The Tree of Man. In the novel, Patrick follows a man carving a life in the Australian bush, planting, building, and staying. While Patrick wrote, he planted a rose at the Dogwoods, a pale pink climbing rose called Sasale Brunet, the same rose he gave his character. Patrick wrote these words about that rose. The rose that they would plant was already taking root outside the window of the plain house, its full flowers falling to the floor, scenting the room with its scent of crushed tobacco. Years later, Patrick wrote about what he had been searching for in the novel, in the mud, and in the farm itself. He said, I felt the life was, on the surface, so dreary, ugly, monotonous. There must be a poetry hidden in it to give it a purpose. And so I set out to discover that secret core, and the Tree of Man emerged. The Tree of Man ends with an aged Stan Parker dying on his garden path as suburbia inches toward his land. The last line belongs to his grandson, a budding poet, who writes, "So that in the end, there was no end." When Patrick accepted the Nobel Prize for Literature, he credited his asthma for everything: the reading, the writing, the work. When Patrick died in 1990, his ashes were scattered in Centennial Park, where he had walked every day for 26 years. He once wrote about the hollow where he lived, about the fine pollen from the paspalum grass, a common Australian grass that drifts and settles over everything. It was always, he said, threatening to engulf them. And in the end, it did. Softly and completely, as he returned to the same ground he had spent a lifetime trying to understand. When I think of Patrick White, I always think about that fall, face first into the dark earth. Most falls ruin lives. His was a great clarifier. As we close the show today, remember, we are often our own harshest critic in the garden. We see the bare spots. We see what's been left behind. We see what should have been done 2 weeks ago and didn't get done. The garden sees none of that. It sees you in your pajamas at 6:30, showing up, and it just keeps blooming. The critic is us. The welcome is the gardens. And the garden always wins. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.